All right. Hello, everyone. First off, let me congratulate you on all your successes in 2018, and hopefully now it's 2019 that you'll have a few more. Uh, One of the things I've been talking about with a few people was goal setting, and they found some of the information pretty interesting, so I figured I would share it in a video on how I like to do things. So normally I have a little binder that I keep track of what I want to do, my goals, and my checklists and stuff like that. But one of the things that people seem to like is something that I downloaded offline. Something like this. It's a little habit tracker. So you got the month. You circle the month up here, and then it has your habit. So you write down whatever habits that you want to do, whether, if it's seeing how with New Year's resolutions, most people, they want to lose weight, they can put like walking 45 minutes, and just mark off each day that they do it. And at the end of the month, they can put that in their folder, and it's a way to keep yourself accountable for whether you do or do not do something. And this gives you a good reference for how well you're doing throughout the month. So you can see, okay, if you had walking here, in the evenings, 45 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, however you want to do or dictate, you can see, what days you do actually hit it throughout the month. You may start off pretty strong and you're hitting every single day. Then after, day 10, 11, it goes to once every couple days, and then once every 3 days, or the last 5 days, you may not do it at all. And then the next month, you put the same habits over here, and so you can flip through your notebook, and at the end of the month, you have a visual look back at whether you did or did not do something. And come March, or June, or even later in the year in November or December, you can flip back and say, okay, this month I was consistent. This month I kind of messed around. This next month I picked it back up. And you can see the ups and the downs in your behaviors. And it's a way of keeping yourself in check online, and I find this quite simple and quite effective. It's a quick 1 month glance at a time, and at the end of the year, you'll have all 12 months in there, and you can flip through and see where you started to wane. If you're not on goal. Another thing that I downloaded offline is this popped up in one of my news feeds. It's a little 21 day to break a habit. And they say it takes 21 days to make a new habit or to break an old habit. That's kind of misleading, because if you have a bad habit, it takes 21 days of consistent work to break that habit. So if you do good today, mess up tomorrow, do good again, you only got 2 good days in, out of 3. And to make 21 days to break a habit, it has to be 21 straight days. Under ideal circumstances, that'd be fairly easy. But most likely in the beginning, you'll miss a day or two. And I tell people, you miss 1 day, that's a mistake. You miss 2, you're developing a habit. You're developing a pattern. Once you miss 3, once you do something 3 times, you have a habit, period. And so this is a way I like to keep track if I want to break a habit, So up here, it says, in 3 teeny tiny weeks, I will stop, and you fill in the blank. Accountability, you'll put a way you will be accountable for it. And down here, you're also writing out where, when, and why am I doing what I'm doing. 'Cause you need to have a reason why you want to do something to make it really cemented in your head and in your heart to do it. And I am especially susceptible to what? Say you have a habit of smoking or something, or junk food. You know, you're going to list out all the reasons why you want to stop, and, say your habit is junk food, eating junk food, once or twice a day. Um, right here, you'd put down, why am I doing it? Maybe you're diagnosed with pre-diabetes, you're kind of scared, you're kind of worried, understandable. So you'd put that, I was diagnosed on this date with pre-diabetics. I was told I needed to stop all the sugary food, lose some weight, yada, yada, yada. And when you put, I'm especially susceptible, you put, you know, what's your little vice, whether it's, when you're in the checkout, you look over, you see a candy bar, you throw that in there. Is that something that draws you in? Is that what draws you in? Or is it, maybe you're out with friends, they're stopping in to get something like a soda or something like that, and you do too, and it just becomes a habit, So like some people are social drinkers, some people drink all the time. Maybe you're a social eater, and so you need to put that down there. And the motivation check, is pretty much how motivated you are. From I like my habit. I'll crumple this paper and carry on is a 1, and number 5 is eye of the tiger. You go forth and you conquer. And this should be like a daily checklist. You can see how motivated you are. And when you see this in the morning, if you view it every single morning, it becomes a great way to keep yourself motivated. Maybe you say, oh, this morning I'm at a 2. What can I do to get me like up there to a level 5? And you could probably look back and see your diagnosis and be like, okay, that really scares me. You can print out all the negative things that happens from diabetics, the amputations, the going blind, early death, all that stuff, and that can motivate you too. And I really like this part. The reason why I like this and printed off this sheet is it says replacement habit. What can I replace my bad habit with? Because it's a lot easier to replace a bad habit with something else. Like people who are trying to stop smoking, they chew gum. Or some of them, the old cigarette, the candied cigarettes that you can just put in your mouth and suck on it. So it takes over that habit of physically putting something in your mouth and replaces it with something that's better. So they're slightly altering a habit, not completely getting rid of that habit of putting something in their mouth. So maybe with like if you got a candy addiction or something, you can replace that with a piece of fruit or whatever. And it's your decision. It could be, okay, I want to go eat now. Maybe I should go for a 20-minute walk, just to get your mind off it. Because usually people who sit there and cram food into their mouths, especially junk food, they're usually bored. It's unfortunate, but it usually is. Maybe you can replace it with reading. Okay, every time I have this habit of reaching for a candy bar, I will remind myself to stop and read a book, something like, Tony Robbins, fantastic. Something like John Maxwell, fantastic. I have several books here of his, anything that motivates you, gets you looking to better yourself, is better than replacing one bad habit with another, even though it's a less bad habit, If you're trying to lose weight because you're pre-diabetic, yes, replacing candy with fruit will be better, but not eating would be even better. So, but that replacement habit, that's your choice. You get to decide what you want to replace it with. And down here, you can see your countdown, the days to success. So it starts at 21, 20, and it goes all the way down to 1. And so you sit there and you mark, boom, 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 boom. Every day you complete, and you're like, wow, I did not eat any candy today. Bam. Next day, same thing. And you keep going until you're done. And down here, you put your reward. And do not, absolutely do not make it your habit you're trying to break. You know, I talk to people all the time. Oh, I want to lose weight, so I'm giving up carbs, I'm giving up junk food. But my reward after losing X amount of pounds is I'm going to cram cake down my throat. Don't do that. You know, make it a healthy reward. Maybe, you know, what you can do is every time you think about going for that candy bar and you catch yourself and you're like, oh, I actually picked it up, put it down and take that dollar and put it in a jar. And then at the end of your 21 days, after you've not done it for 21 days straight, you'll have, you know, say $21. You know, treat yourself to a movie, treat yourself to new clothes, whatever you want, but make it an actual legitimate reward, not, you know, okay, now I can start on my habit again, you know, because you're trying to break these habits for good, you know. And the one thing you got to realize is once you successfully do 21 days to break a habit, you need another 21 days to change it to a good habit, to really cement it. So this is good just to get you started, you know. This one keeps you accountable for longer periods of times, you know. But if you got bad habits to break, this I think is key because you are putting more effort, more emotions into it as far as stating why, you know, and right now what are you susceptible to allows you to plan out what your response is to these stumbling blocks that you know you have. If you know you're just automatically going to go and do it, you know, you need to plan out, okay, when I get to this point right here, I am going to take note and stop myself, you know. And that's where the replacement habit. This just tracks whether you can, like what days you are actually completing your habit. This one is a plan on changing your habit. It really helps. You know, I find it to be very helpful. And I will try to put these in the files section um, on the Facebook page so you can download and print these yourself. Both of these are free online, but you know, I'll just do a quick little link to it so you don't have to go and search for it. Something else I've also created to help me with my goals is I just do these basic little grids. Okay, so this one has 50 boxes. This one has 150 boxes. This one has 300 boxes. Okay, and with each and every single one of these, as you can see at the top, I write my goal. Like what do I want to do? You know, so let's say I want to start working out more. Okay, this one would be all right for it. It's 50. You know, so at the very least, this is like a once a week type thing. There's 52 weeks in the year, but I only have 50 on here because it's a nice even number. And, you know, there'll be some weeks where you can't really do something. This would be more appropriate for a workout because it's 151. So let's say I wanted to work out more this year, okay? Let's say 30 minutes at a time, you know, whether it's walking, running, you know, going to the gym and hitting some weights, whatever, just 30 minutes, you know, so 30-minute workout is my goal. Okay, there's 150 boxes here. That's 3 times a week for a year. You know, so in each box I can put the date that I went and worked out. Boom, 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 right? Until I get done. And so the goal would be to work out 150 times a year with this sheet. You know, if it's something as simple as going for a 15-minute walk in the evenings, you know, this can work. You know, this is a 300 one. So I can put, you know, walking for 15 minutes in the evening as the goal and mark off each day that I complete. And 300 that's a lot, you know, so this would be great for that. because it's a nice, easy habit that you can consistently do. Doing it 300 times in a year is not overdoing it like, a workout would be, a full-on hour-long like lifting weights workout. You're going to need to take days off, especially if it's not something you're used to. But if it's something like once a week, that's where this 50-day grid comes in, and that can be like a personal thing, like go for a hike up in the mountains. So that's 50 times in 1 year. If you do it once a week, you'll be done by the end of the year with this, assuming you start this week. But it also gives you some leeway for days you can't, So these are quite simple to make. Just go on Microsoft Office, go to the Insert tab, go down to the table, and you put, how many rows of columns across and how many rows down. So this one's a 5 by 10, so that's fairly easy. That's fairly simple for a weekly thing. This one's, also 5 across, 30 down. This one is 10 across, 30 down. So, you can make it whatever, if you want to do something 5 days a week, like meditation. That's something I personally want to do more of because I find it very relaxing and very useful. It helps me fall asleep. If I do it in the evenings, it helps me wind down. So this would be great because 5 across, so Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or, whatever. I could skip a day, alternate days, however I want to do it. And it keeps me accountable, but it stops halfway through the year. I can do this for a full 52 weeks. And, that means 5 days a week for 52 weeks. So that's every week for a year. So these are very helpful for your long range views. And you can see, like, say I got this 300 one, and my goal was to complete 300 things in 1 year, whatever it is. Let's just use the 15 minutes of walking one. I know as I'm starting to get down there how close I am. So if it's July and I'm still back up here, I need to pick up the pace. I need to hit every single day in order to catch up. But if, say, we're in September and I'm almost at the end, that tells me I'm ahead of schedule. So that helps motivate me. And being behind on this, it kind of gives a sense of urgency. It gives that little push, that last minute studying type thing in college where you're trying to cram. Some things I have also found useful when I'm doing larger things, with total numbers up over 300, is to split these up into 3 months, every 3 months, hitting so many, and have a little space in there. So you can actually insert multiple tables and say, okay, in 3 months, I want to hit 90. In the next 3 months, 90. In the next 3 months, 90. That lets me know when I'm slacking off, and it gives me a way to hold myself accountable in the first 3 months, whereas this one might be a little bit harder to do if I'm trying to hold myself accountable. I could be somewhere, up in here after 3 months and it looks okay, but I might be slightly behind. So, play with these, make them however you want. I'm not going to add links to these because simple Microsoft Office, you can insert the tables however you want, but I do recommend you taking note, kind of back to this one where you're finding out what you're susceptible to. If you have a hard time keeping yourself accountable in long chunks like this, break it up. Just do weekly, 1 week things, and that's where this smaller one, this monthly one, a lot of people might like because it's easier to keep yourself accountable. Again, you miss one day, Simple mistake. 2, you're starting to develop a habit of making, uh, of missing whatever it is. Like say walking, we'll go back to walking. You develop, if you got 2 days in a row on this one that you're missing your workouts, one of the things you can do is to um, take note on this one. When you have 2 days, you could be like, okay, look, I'm starting to develop a bad habit of missing these days. So I need to pick this up and get in there. Get in there, get after it. And if it's something that you want to do every single day, like something, again, 15 minutes of walking in the evenings. What I have done in the past is with this one, don't just put a check, I put a green mark on the days I do it and a red mark on the days I don't do it. And a simple marker, and you just color it in. That way, at a glance, you can see, okay, a lot of green on this one. The next one, not so much green, a lot of red. I need to change things. And so you're looking back, you're seeing your patterns, you're picking up on your behavioral patterns, and you're starting to identify where you're going wrong. And so I have a ton of different charts and stuff like that I use. This one is fantastic. I keep myself accountable on different things, and it's a monthly thing. And when I flip through these and I see, okay, this month I did fantastic. I only have 2 or 3 squares with 10 habits listed over here that are red. So, I did fantastic. Next one, I may have 5 or 6, and it may not look like I'm doing anything bad to most people. Most people look at that and be like, wow, you got 300 possible squares because you got 10 habits, 30 days, some months 31, some months 28. But if only 4 or 5 that are red, that may not seem like much. But if my usual is 2 or 3, that tells me I slipped a little bit that month. So again, you track your habits, you figure out your own habits, and you go, okay, I'm doing good, or I'm doing worse, or I'm doing fantastic. And you'll find out when your motivation increases and when it doesn't, and you can be like, okay, what happened this month to cause me to slip? If you're trying to stay away from junk food altogether, but there were 6 birthday parties and a, going away party or a marriage or something like that, you're going to have access to a lot of unhealthy food. So you're going to catch yourself slipping. And, it's something you can write down at the bottom or even on the back. You can be like, okay, I slipped up this month because of ... You need to give yourself a reason why. You don't just say, oh, I'm freaking fat, lazy, or whatever. State out why you messed up. And then at the bottom, you could state what you're going to do this next month to ensure you don't mess up. And when I use this one, if I hit 2 days down here where I don't complete it, so if I started this on the 1st, I should be done by the 21st. 22nd, depending on which day you actually start. So if I miss 2 days, what I do is I'll take my red marker and I'll put one line straight down across, and I'll put fail. And then I'll grab a new sheet, fill in everything here and here, and the reward the same, and start over. Because I want 21 days of consistent effort to break a bad habit. And when I complete this, I don't need to just have this all marked off and get my reward. I'll take my green marker and I'll write win on there. That way, when I'm flipping through towards the end of the year, when I see a lot of green, that tells me I completed a lot of my goals. I did a lot of effort towards my goals. When I see a lot of red, it's like, oh, wow, I screwed up. It's about holding myself accountable, and that's why I like these. It's a way to hold myself accountable. You know, most people I don't really tell my goals to, because I want my motivation to come from internal, not something external. So my goals I usually just keep in my little binder, and nobody really knows about them till the end of the year. And then I like to share. I'm like, okay, I completed these goals this year. Did fantastic. What did you complete? Like 2018, a goal I had all year. I didn't have, I'm going to have so many workouts, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I simply just had one goal as far as my physical fitness goes. And I just picked this goal just to see if I can do it, if I'd keep up with it. And that was to complete 1,000 push-ups a week. And some weeks I did 200 a day, Monday through Friday. There's my 1,000. There's a few weeks where I had to do all 1,000, Friday and Saturday. So it's 500 one day, 500 next. With Christmas this last week, I was busy going out, seeing things, going to different parties and stuff like that, going up north, visiting some friends, dropping off some gifts. And so the Thursday, the Friday, and the Saturday afterwards is when I did my 1,000. Did 300, 300, and 400. Gotta do what you gotta do, but I still hit my 1,000. So this last year I did 52,000 push-ups. That's in addition to whatever else I did. Whether I did did an actual workout or not was not included in that total. That 52,000 was in the evenings at home prior to going to bed. So, there's a few days where I did it throughout the day, but I tend to like doing it all condensed, and there are times where I do 40 push-ups, rest 3 minutes, 40 push-ups, rest 3 minutes, all the way until I hit my 5 sets, which is 200. There's times where I do sets of 20 every 2 minutes until I hit my 200. So it just depends. I do different types. So diamond, regular, wide, dive bombers, pikes. Nothing really too hard. I just complete them. That's the whole objective, was to create a habit of doing something in the evenings that would, kind of get me towards a physical goal in mind. This one, the push-ups, wasn't really a goal in mind. It wasn't like to increase my bench press or anything. I don't think my strength increased. I can guarantee you my endurance did, because the first day I did 200, the next day it's like a little bit soreness in my triceps. But there's one of the days that I had to complete 500 on a Saturday, just to knock out what I had left for the week. And come Sunday, I wasn't really sore at all. I was a little bit fatigued, which tells me my body was recovering still, but there wasn't like muscle soreness. So that tells me my endurance did increase, which is good. Is what it is. So maybe this year I can change that up to maybe like burpees. Who knows? I'll figure it out. By midnight tonight, I will know what I want to do as far as my physical fitness. I have my habit sheet, my habit tracker already written up as far as my intellectual type thing, because going through college courses, I have, like, one of my things is to study 30 minutes minimum each day. So that's one of them. Additionally, I want to read at least 15 minutes, and I got a lot of books. Most of these are already read, but some of them aren't completely read. Like this Tony Robbins book, I'm halfway through it. So I can finish that off, just 15 minutes of reading each day that's not schoolwork related, so something that's self-improvement, you know, maybe like this book that I picked up a few days ago, right? Just an interesting book about his life, about his way of doing things. I also got other books on different subjects. So, 15 minutes, just 15 minutes a day. So I have my habit tracker. It doesn't include everything on one. It's my education mental development one, and then I'm going to by midnight tonight write up my physical fitness one. Like I said, whether it's walking, full body workouts, whatever. And even I'll have them on here, and like say I want to do a workout 3 times a week, at least 30 minutes. I'll also have it on a big picture one here. So at the end of the month, I go, okay, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 and transfer that over. So at the end, this will show me what I'm doing during the month, how well I'm doing it, and this one just tells me how well I'm doing throughout the year. So it's a little bit of effort, a little bit of paperwork, but once you set yourself up for these in the beginning of the year, it makes the rest of the year so much easier. Like this one, all you're doing is writing down your goals. I think on my educational mental development one, I have like 5 or 6. So that's 5 or 6 things I got to write on a new one every single month. That's not that hard. Pretty easy. And at the end of the day, all I do is color in green or color in red. If it's not a day that like I was supposed to do it, like if I'm supposed to do it 3 times a week, then I wouldn't color red, because a red to me indicates that I missed that day. I messed up. And if I wasn't supposed to do it that day, I didn't mess up. It's just not a day I was supposed to do it. But the days I do miss it, that I was supposed to do it, I need to mark it red. For a simple fact, it's about holding myself accountable. And if you don't hold yourself accountable, you're going to get off track. And all these charts and different pieces of paper, that's all it does. It's a way to hold yourself accountable. Back to this one, the accountability aspect. You can put another person, if you need somebody to help you along the way, great. Put that. For me, it's charts. And I can look back at myself and be like, okay, you know what? You screwed up. So fix it. This one, you can have a goal of changing 12 bad habits this year. So 1 a month. So you spend 21 days to break it, and then you spend the rest of the month to really ingrain it. And then come the first of the next month, you write up a new one. Put a new bad habit. And then you can create your own worksheet with, on the goal section, you can just put break bad habits, right? And then you can have 12 boxes, so you can have it 4x3 or, whatever, however you want to lay out the boxes, and just put a green or a red in there when you break a habit or you don't break a habit. This will help you break it. It'll help you line it up, get everything right, get your mind right, and then this chart will help you. At the end of the year, keep track of, okay, I broke 6 bad habits, screwed up on the rest. Or I broke 9, messed up on 3. Whatever, If you don't do these, you won't get any better. Something else I like to do is I have a lot of other worksheets in here. I won't really bore you all with them all. I have this one. This one's just a general reminder about your beliefs, your values, and your attitudes, and what they are. I also, this is one I like to do um, when bigger things happen. So this is kind of a ripples effects charts where the top box you put in whatever happened, issue, situation, incident, whatever. On this box, you put the effects on you, the physical, emotional, psychological, or financial. You lose a job. You write that down. Your effects on self, effects on the other person. So if it's a situation involving somebody, you put that person here, or if you have a spouse, you can put that person here. And then down here, it's the effects on your family. So all your brothers, sisters, mothers, children, whatever. Write that out. And sometimes these can be several pages each. This is just a general thing. You can put just one word things and with bullet points on there, and then on another piece of paper you can write out how you foresee its effects on everybody else. This one's the effects on community / friends, so all your friends and stuff like that. And this one, it's the effects on the other person's family and friends, which would be your spouse, or say you had a falling out with your drunk friend because he was getting drunk and trying to drive, and you end up having to slap the crap out of him, take his keys, throw him in the ditch, and tell him to kick rocks. So whatever the situation, this is a way for you to keep track of not only how this situation affects you and the other person, or your spouse, your loved one, whatever, but also everybody else in general. So you can see that with this, I really liked this type of thing when I was a teenager because it got me thinking less about myself and more about how my actions affected other people. So it made me more compassionate in a sense because I started taking things into account, that most people wouldn't. So something you don't have to do. I know a few people that I have shown this to thought it was a little bit weird and just never did it, but I like it. If you got a teenager growing up, this may be something you want to introduce to them to at least get them trying to think that way, and have them do one or two of these every now and then. This one's right here is a self-talk worksheet. So you're going to list your experiences, describe them, your bad experiences. Is there a positive light you can shine on things, basically? The reason why I like this sheet is because it helps me think. This is the main reason why I got this sheet, and I keep using it is because if this happened to somebody else, what other positive names could I give it? So if something bad happens to me, or something, that's not great, not something that I wanted, if that happened to a friend, what can I say to that person to make them feel better? And that changes your thinking about situations, because if your mother or father died, you're like, oh wow, freaking world screwed up, spun through a loop, whatever. But if somebody you don't know's parents died, you're like indifferent for the most part. If it's a close friend, you're gonna try to console them because there's a little closer connection. So this gets you thinking about things differently, and those are things you can tell yourself to keep yourself motivated, or to change negative things into a more positive light. And then down here, it tells you letting go allows you to get on with your life when something is over. So if it's a bad situation, it's reminding you that sometimes you just need to let go. And then it walks you through a process like it starts off with write down 2 things that'll help you let go of it. Okay, so it gets you thinking. Oh, okay, this bad thing happened to me, the situation that I did not want, say I wanted to win the lottery, but I didn't. I just ended up losing $2,000 that I dumped into it. Okay, I didn't actually do that, but let's just say that's a situation. It starts you getting your mind processing ways to get over it. And whether you put forth the effort to do those or not is irregardless. The fact that you're thinking about it, it is going to help your mind get over those bad things. Again, we had Christmas season. Unfortunately, during the Christmas season is usually when a lot more people become suicidal because they look at things that they don't have instead of the things that they do have or the things that are coming up, or what things can be. So they end up being suicidal, which sucks. So this would be something that they need to go over. And then at the bottom, it goes over belief and faith. Self-talk reflects our belief in who we are or in the universe. A positive faith can help you during stressful times. Then it has you list 10 positive things that you believe about yourself, your situation, whatever. And it also tells you that if you can't come up with 10 things yourself, ask other people close to you. So this is good. It helps you take bad situations, bad things that happen that you did not want, that aren't necessarily like highly stressful, just things you just did not want, like your 17-year-old daughter getting pregnant. That might be a little bit more stressful, but it takes a negative thing and you start getting over the bad aspect of it and changing it into something good. And it's something you can remind yourself throughout the day. Let's see. Yeah, none of these else you guys really need to get into just yet. But these 3 things I find very helpful. Especially this ripple effect one. It helps you list out your actions, your situations. If it's something that can be ignored, should be ignored, it lets you know what it's going to do to people around you, your spouse, your immediate family, your friends, whatever. Because unfortunately, I see a lot of people who tend to push things off. Like, I'll worry about that later, or like, I don't want to deal with that. Screw it. We'll just let it go. What's the worst that can happen, right? Well, you start figuring it out. And then you go, okay, maybe that's something I want to deal with right now before it gets worse. So, and the self-talk thing, positive self-talk, I've stated this in a couple of videos before, is going to be one of your best friends. Back when I was running marathons, I absolutely hated running in every way, shape, or form, from the first step to the last step. I wasn't one of those people who enjoyed running and just said, hey, let's train for a marathon. No, I was somebody who hated running from every single little step to the end. But I liked the results I got at the end. So I chose to run more and more and get faster and get better. One of the things when you're running 26.2 freaking miles is time drags on. Like, I was never one to put in earbuds and listen to music and just shut off my mind and go. No, I don't do that. I look for internal motivation. I don't want music to motivate me. So I always talk to myself, and one of the things I like to do, and there's times where it started after I hit 1 mile and lasted all the way until I completed that marathon. And that was telling myself, okay, this sucks. It's not that bad. You can take another step. See, you just took another step. But by then, you've taken 20 or 30 steps. But I was tricking my mind and thinking, okay, I just need to take one more. And once I took that one, okay, great, you took that step. Let's get ready to take another one. And you took it. Great. Fantastic. And by then, like, I'm 100 yards down the course more. And in my mind, I only took 2 extra steps, which is easy. Taking 2 steps ain't nothing. Even after I completed a marathon, I still walked over to the benches and sat down. I still walked over to the hydration station and was pounding down Gatorades and water, sometimes snacks, whatever. So 2 steps ain't nothing as long as you're choosing to do them. And that's what I was doing, is I was tricking my mind into just taking that next extra step. But in the process of telling myself to take that next extra step, I took like 20 or 30. So it was a distraction. I was always using self-talk to get myself through, and unfortunately there were runs where it's from just getting started to the very end. I had to do that just to get myself through. Very, very rarely could I ever do a full training session or a semi-decent run without it, because I hated running. Still do. Still not that fun. But, when I was doing it very long periods of time, it really sucked. And unfortunately, I got it through my mind after I completed my 3rd marathon. I did it in 3 hours, 4 minutes. I said, okay, now I'm going to do an ultra marathon, which is a 100-mile marathon. Unfortunately, got in a motorcycle accident and I couldn't continue with that training. But when I was doing my longer runs, I'd do long, slow distance runs once a month of 35 miles, which is longer than a marathon. So my training run was longer than a marathon, and so that really sucked, because the long, slow distance training, you slow down. With a marathon, doing it in 3 hours, to me, that was a godsend compared to doing a 4-hour one. Even though physically it's harder, in my mind, I was running less. Even though the amount of steps I had to take was the same, it's just the time was shorter. So in my mind, it felt like I was running less, simply because I was doing that self-talk, so I had to repeat, okay, let's take this next step, less and less and less, so it was fantastic when I got it down to 3 hours. But with the long, slow distance training, when I had to slow down and do extra miles, oh my God, I was about ready to go out of my mind. I don't know how I was ever going to push myself to do 100 miles straight. Never got that chance, but I was figuring it out. I was figuring out what I can say to myself to get myself to keep going, because it's not as physically demanding once you're prepared for it. Then it's a lot easier than you realize. The hardest part is the mental part. Yeah, so the mental aspect is the hardest part, and figuring out what self-talk you need in order to get yourself through the tough times, the things you don't want to do, the things you don't enjoy doing, like, say, maybe you're breaking the habit of stopping yourself from eating junk food, right? That is all dependent on you. You got to figure out what motivates you to do something, what demotivates you to do something. And that's kind of why I like this motivation check in here, is because you can say, okay, I'm at a level 2, and you try different things to get yourself up to, a 4 or a 5. And you can change the scale if you want. You could have it 1 through 10. So, you have a little bit more ground. Instead of saying between a 4 and 5, you can say, I'm at a 9. And figuring out what you need to do to get yourself motivated, get yourself to keep going, that's all you got to do, is experiment with it. For me, it was simply telling myself to take that next extra step. And this was something I hated doing. So if I can do that with something I hated doing, how easy would it be to do something that I really wanted? And, if you look throughout my life, I've accomplished a lot considering like my background, my family's background, not, being highborn and rich and stuff like that. I've traveled around the world, visited 2 different countries. I've done some pretty cool things and met some pretty cool people, and I plan on doing even more, and with the discipline I've developed, I developed from doing things that I don't want to do, but I knew were good for me. It's going to help me get my life in line to do my next project, and then my next, and then my next. And unfortunately, self-talk is the way it's at. In the military, they always told us that there is 4 keys to mental toughness, and self-talk was always one of them. And it was, to me, the biggest, most useful aspect of those lessons. And everybody knows that, a lot of members in the military have some pretty hard lifestyles. It's not all easy. We all can't be store clerks and just sitting back in an air conditioned building and waiting for a piece of paper to come in saying somebody wants something. No, front lines, doing things, actively engaging. It sucks being deployed like I was for my third and last time for a year straight. Sucked. And I didn't want to be away from home, but it's what I signed up to do. And so I took each day separately. Boom. I didn't go, if I would have stopped and thought about it in the beginning and said, oh crap, I'm going to be out here for this long, like it would have felt overwhelming. But I ignored most of that. I focused on what I had to do now, just like with the running. I focused on my next step. I didn't look at it and say, oh wow, I want to quit and we're 2 minutes into a 4-hour race. I would have got myself in a bad mindset and ended up stop running. But all I did was I ignored all that stuff in the future and focused on what I have to do now. It's that laser-like focus, and that to me came through self-talk. It was something that was extremely useful. I'm glad I was told about it. I was even more glad I was put in a situation where I had to practice it, because without it, I probably would not have accomplished half the things I had. I would not have had the discipline to do without this in order to get this. If I want to achieve, like say I want to buy a house, right? I know I can achieve that. All I have to do is start saving money, improve my credit so I can get a bigger loan. First part of that, to start saving money, is to stop buying shit that I don't need. Spend it on the minimum amount of food, reduce my electric bill, reduce my water bill, reduce my gas from driving here and there. So I got to condense all my trips into 1 or 2 throughout the week. Rent, I can't really change how much I pay for rent. It's a fixed rate, so that's not out of my control, but the rest of the stuff is. And so I have to have the discipline saying, you know what, I want that new gun, or I want that new fishing rod, or I want to go travel up to Washington to do this, or go down and do that. I have to say, I want those things, but I want that house more, which means those things that are going to be fun and entertaining to do right now, I got to cut back on and not do. I have to have discipline to do it. And so by that self-talk, you can reiterate it to yourself. You can change the words around, experiment with however you want, saying, okay, I know I want to go do this. I want to go to that party or whatever. But I know it's going to cost $250 minimum. But I need to save that money because I want to buy a house. So You need to tell yourself whatever you need to do. You can be like, okay, look, sucks missing out on that party right now, but once I have my own place, I could have parties like that every week if I wanted to. So you're putting it in a better light. You're changing, like this one, your negative thoughts, your negative self-talk into positive. You're trying to look for the good in every situation. Yes, I am giving up this small thing right now, but I'm getting this bigger thing later. Like for me in running, I'm giving up my comfort because running sucks. At least to me, it sucks. So I was giving up my comfort, for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, however long my training session was, just to be fit, healthy, and just have all the energy in the world. So when I wanted to go do something, I never got tired, never got exhausted. When I was in the jungles of Malaysia, I had the energy to go all day. I could go up and down mountains, cross rivers, do this, do that, whatever. And I just never got tired. And that was thanks to running. If I was completely out of shape and did not want to do anything and whatever, I would not have done half the things I did in the jungle. I would not have climbed those trees because I knew I'd get tired halfway up and then I'd have difficulty getting down. I wouldn't have hiked up that long, tall mountain from the beach because I knew I wouldn't be able to get there. And if I did, I'd have to go to sleep and then just to have the energy to come back down. So it gave me the physical abilities to do things that I really, really, really wanted to do. That's why I did it. That's why I said I liked the results of it, but I hated running with a passion. So, but I did it because it got me to where I was wanting to go in the big picture of things. Which, if you think about it, spending 5 to 6 days a week, there's a few weeks where I've hit 120 miles of running in a week just to be able to go and do something all day that I wanted to do. So, good trade-off. At least I thought so. And I talked myself into believing it, So, with these habits you got to break, or you want to break, or you want to develop, you have to find out what you have to say to yourself in order to keep yourself motivated. And that's why keeping track of the motivations, like on these scales, is perfect, And when you find something that takes you from a level 1 or 2 motivation up to a level 4 or 5, remember it, because that's something you can say over and over and over and over again. Some people, like if they want to get in shape, they'll put up bodybuilder pictures here and there. Some people, I've read online where one bodybuilder, to keep himself motivated in the beginning because he was so weak and so out of shape, he actually took a picture of his face, his head, and glued it onto Arnold Schwarzenegger's body. And every time he looked at it, it got him more motivated, knowing that he can go from where he's at to where Arnold's at, to where that picture is. So he's looking at himself in the future. He's looking at himself with his mind's eye, and seeing that, okay, this is achievable. That picture was his self-talk, was being able to look at it like, okay, I can get there. For me, it wasn't a picture. It was just telling myself to take one extra step. For you, who knows what it could be? It could be any one of any dozens of different things. Who knows? Only you can figure that out. But you got to break the habits. You got to keep track of your good habits that you're trying to develop, and you got to hold yourself accountable. And at the end of the month, like say you're doing a 30-day weight loss challenge thing, at the end of the month, if you succeeded, write out how you feel. How you feel about why you succeeded. Feel physically great. I feel more disciplined. I'm glad I figured out my mental thoughts, and the little factors in motivating myself to do this. Just write out a big 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, however long it is, pages of information on how you feel, what lessons you've learned. And if you fail, guess what? Do the same damn thing. Write out all your lessons that you've learned. And that's going to help you reorganize everything. And then you try again. Go for it again. Because now you're doing it with more information than you had last time. So your chances of success are greater. And if you fail then, guess what? Do it again. Write out, why you failed, the lessons you learned, what you're going to try to do next time that you didn't try this time, and try it. You got 12 months. A 30-day challenge, you got plenty of time. You got 12 chances at completing a 30-day challenge. So try it. If that's your goal, try it. Just figure out what you got to do to keep yourself motivated, keep yourself on track, and do something that keeps you accountable. At the very least, you can look back, flop open your thing, and go, bam, all right, I did great, or I did bad, or whatever. I did mixed results, and write out why. Write out your lessons why. Because if you don't sit there and learn from it, you're just setting yourself up to fail again in the same manner. So you need to go through the learning process. Emotionally, it sucks because you realize you're not as disciplined, or maybe you're not as tough as you realize. Maybe you give in too easy, whatever. But it's a learning process. Every habit that people have that's a good habit is something they developed over a lifetime. Sometimes they've learned it by the time they're 5. Other times it takes them till they're 50. It doesn't matter. Everything anybody else can do is something they learned to do. They didn't magically just do it. They picked it up from somewhere. Either they saw it, they're told it, they put what somebody else said and took it a step further. Who knows? But every single habit every single other person on this planet has that's a good habit is something they learned. And the opposite is true. Every bad habit every single person on this planet was learned. One day is a mistake, twice is the beginning of a habit, 3 is a habit. Got to remember that. That's your biggest thing when you're trying to break or make a new habit to remember is 1 is a mistake, 2 is the beginning of a habit, 3 is a habit. Once you do it 3 times, it is a habit. Whether it's a good habit or a bad habit depends on you. Only you get to determine whether you're creating good ones or bad ones. And to me, writing it out, keeping myself accountable, it's the easiest way for me. It's not something I can just think about once and just expect myself to remember it. No. This notebook sits right up here, right next to my work area. This is where I do my schoolwork. This is where I come and sit and I do my reading. I got some of my hobbies and projects back here. I got a lot of my fishing gear over in this corner. You can see different poles, my nets. So anytime I want to go do something, whether it's going fishing, getting some of my hunting gear, some of my archery equipment, whether I am working on a vehicle like I was today, partially, whatever I'm doing, I need to come in here. And so this book being right up here, at the very least, just glancing at it and seeing that red notebook, I know what it means to me. I know that that's my goals. That's my plan for this year. And if I'm coming in here like I'm supposed to every evening to fill out this habit tracker, I'm opening it up. I'm looking at everything again. I'm going, okay, my walking habit, green or red, one or the other. I can't hide it. So I'm holding myself accountable. You have to. If you don't do it, you're not going to know how far along you are throughout the year. You're not going to know if you're ahead of schedule, behind schedule, if you're kind of right there. The only thing you'll know is whether you're putting effort towards it or if you're not. Because you know if you went out for a walk today or not. You know if you ate candy when you said you wouldn't or not. But you don't know how many days. You can't look back. Like on December 31st, if you ask me, how many meals of beef did I eat throughout the year, I couldn't tell you. How many meals of greens did I eat throughout the year? I couldn't tell you. How many sodas did I drink throughout the year? Couldn't tell you. How many glasses of water did I drink throughout the year? I couldn't tell you. This, if I keep account of it, that tells me. I can look back and say, oh, I did great, or oh, I did poor, I need to bump that up this year. It's that simple. This is one of the best tools I have figured out, is to put everything down, put everything on a chart, and at the end of every night, before I lay down, I look at it and I go, okay, did great. There's a lot of green here. Green, 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 green. And if I do poorly, well, that's when I reach down, grab out the red one. And it's kind of disheartening grabbing that red one. It's like, oh, shit, it hurts. I didn't do what I was supposed to. Even just reaching for it kind of makes me cringe. And, oh well. You got to hold yourself accountable. If you're going to break these habits, you need to hold yourself accountable. That's the biggest thing with goals, is you need to know when you make it or don't. It's not like, oh, I did okay today. No, it's whether you did it or you did not do it, period. It's not okay. There's no in between. There's no middle area. There's nothing other than green and red. It's go, no go. So, got a lot of green, you're doing good. Got a lot of red, you're not doing good. It's that simple. And so as you go throughout the year, you can start to see, okay, I got a lot of green, or I got a lot of red, but only in this one area. What can I do, now that it's June and it's halfway through the year, what can I do to change all those reds to green for the rest of the year? Sometimes it's making times to do something else. Sometimes it's not. And that's all on you. You got to figure it out. Nobody else is going to figure it out for you. You can have friends help you. You can have family help you. But you still got to do it. These are your actions, nobody else's. These are your goals, nobody else's. You shouldn't be doing somebody else's goals. You can help a friend write out their goals. Like I'm kind of putting out how I do things to you guys, but I can't make you guys do it. And you can't make me do it. I have to choose to. And that's why I don't listen to music when I work out. That's why I never listened to music when I ran. It's because I don't want something else getting me to do something. I want to do it. I want to develop the internal discipline to do it. Because when you're alone, at the end of the night, you only have yourself to answer to. You got to say, well, I did great or I did poorly. And you're looking at the mirror and you're saying that. You're not saying it to your loved ones, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, whoever's around you. You're saying it to yourself. And that's when it's going to bite the most, is when you slack off. You're going to feel it. And you should, because if you don't have an emotional investment into what you're doing, then why are you doing it? It's plain and simple. That's why I like that chart where you put it down why you're doing what you're doing. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to figure these things out. The more you understand about your motivations, the more you can tailor your self-talk to it, and you may have goals, but when you start writing out the motivations for it, you realize, you know what, this is not something I really want. Crumple that paper up, throw it away. If it's not something you want, don't go for it. Pick something you want. Whether it's to get that house, so you got to start saving money, being disciplined, clean up your credit if you have bad credit, improve your credit if you have okay credit. There's a million different things you can do. But if you don't want to buy that house, if you're not ready to, then don't put forth the effort to it. Put your effort into something you want to do, and go for it. Go for it 100%. Screw what everybody else says. You should do this, you should do that, whatever. At the end of the day, you're not going to keep yourself accountable for it. You might for a little bit, but after a while, you're like, piss out. Yeah, you need to really find out what you want to do. And I like these for the simple fact that out of all the different charts and sheets, they require you to dig a little bit deeper into your internal motivations. There's a lot of other ones out there. Those are nice, simple, straightforward. You got to break the habit before you can make a new habit, before you can change your life for the better. And in order to do that, you got to understand your habit, understand your motivations for wanting to change it, and then you got to keep yourself on track. And those are nice, simple ways to keep yourself on track, and they force you to write out why you're doing what you're doing. And you can keep one notebook for years until it gets full, and then put it on a shelf and start a new one. Or you can change every year. Mine, what I do is at the end of the year is the habits that I've created, that I wanted to create, or the goals that I accomplished, like the 52,000 push-ups. What I wrote yesterday when I was writing down my accomplishments from last year is I wrote, since I know that 52,000 push-ups are accomplishable, are easy, what can I do to push myself this year? It's that simple. And when you think about it, 52,000 push-ups, majority of the people haven't done that in their entire lives. And this is something that I chose to do just extra. And that gives me confidence. Okay, now that I know I can do this, what can I do now this year, now that it's 2019, to do more? If that wasn't super challenging, which for me it wasn't, but I have a lot of good habits that I've built over the years, since that wasn't really that challenging to me, what can I do this year to challenge me? What can I do to push myself out of my comfort zone? What can I go to the next step with? So, you may not be able to do 52,000 push-ups this year. Maybe your goal is 20,000. That's all right. Your body needs to adapt. Your mind needs to adapt to doing that, having the discipline to do it every single day you need to. And when you don't do it, to be able to make it up on the weekends if it's something you can. Like if your goal is to walk 15 minutes a day, once you miss that one day, you can't make that up. You can do 30 minutes the next day, but that don't change the fact that your goal was 15 minutes a day and you missed it. So yeah, physically doing 30 minutes the next day will make up for that, but mentally you broke. You lack the willpower to say, you know what, even though I'm getting ready to go to bed, I still need to get up, get out that door, and go for a 15-minute walk. And so when you're marking that red down, you know that you didn't do what you're supposed to. And that should add a little bit of extra motivation to make sure you don't do 2 days like that. And if you somehow manage to stumble and do 2 days like that, you need to use that as motivation not to make a third day. Because that's when you have a very bad habit of breaking your promise to keep your goal. And it may not seem like much. You may think, oh, it's just 15 minutes. Who cares? The thing is, that adds up. You know, if you miss 1 day a week, you know, you're missing an hour a month. So physically, if your goal is weight loss or whatever, maybe you have heart problems or whatever, and you're trying to minimize those, that really does adds up. That's 12 hours of extra working out, of extra exercise you could have had that year that you did not get just because you gave up on a 15-minute session here and there. You know, the Japanese have a principle, it's called Kaizen, and it's about continual improvement, you know, and the key is to do something every day to improve, no matter how small. If it's a 0.1% improvement, or a 1%, or a 10%, or a 50%, or a 100%, or a 200% improvement that you get during that day, it doesn't matter. The fact that you are continually putting effort each day to improve, you will get better. Sometimes it'll take you a little bit longer than other people. Sometimes, you know, you may not see the results in 30 days that you want. Who cares? You're still an improvement. You know, I've known people who said, okay, during this month I want to lose 10 pounds, and they only lose 6, and they consider themselves a failure. It's like, you're not. You didn't complete your goal, but you put in the effort and you still lost 6 pounds. You're 60% of the way there. So you're 60% closer than you were when you started. So it's taking you a little bit extra. Who cares? As long as you keep going forward, don't stop, don't kick yourself in the ass and just give up on it completely. If you keep going, you'll get there. It may take you another month, but you'll still get there. So your 30-day challenge ended up being a 60-day challenge, but you still got there. That's why I like, you know, just doing 300 a year. You know, that gives me rooms for days off, but I can still, as long as I'm keeping consistent, I can still mark off. You know, because that gives me a whole year to complete something instead of saying I have to do this by this time. You know, a week-long challenge, a 2-week-long challenge, a 30-day challenge, they're fantastic to get you started on things. I like the 21-day things because that's scientifically proven. But I like doing it in my goals in the course of a year. I don't like those 30-day goals. Like, I'm going to work out 3 days a week for 30 days. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to make it a full year. If I'm going to meditate 5 days a week, I'm not going to do it for a month. I'm going to do it for a full year. But I'm at the point now that I've completed enough goals. I've done this enough times that a year does not seem that long to me. To most people, going on a 30-day diet seems like a long time. To me, it's not that long. I've done a 20-day fast, 20 days where I didn't eat. Last year, I did a 7-day fast. You know, that 7-day fast was nothing because years ago, I did a 20-day fast. And surprisingly, once you start getting in the groove, 20 days doesn't seem that long. And most people, when they think about a 7-day fast, they're like, oh, crap. That's 7 days without eating. That's a lot. When you think about it, you're actually doing less because you're not cooking. You're not looking through all your cupboards and going, you know what, I'm going to add this and this and this and then make this big old meal. Or you're not going out to eat at a restaurant. You're not doing anything. You got all this extra free time. You can go for a walk. You can read a book. You can catch up on your favorite TV show. You can do whatever. If you got a hobby, you got more time to do a hobby. So to most people, 7-day fast seems incredible. To me, it's not that long. So, but that's based on my experiences. I've built up to where that's not that long. So, you may have 30-day challenges throughout the year, like 12 different 30-day challenges. Like this month, like one of the popular ones I seen going around last week was a 30-day push-up challenge where you do 100 push-ups a day for 30 days. To me, that's not that much, but for somebody who's don't really do push-ups, they're going to see a lot of change in their body and their strength in 30 days, at least their upper body. Then the next month, it can be a plank challenge for 30 days, right? So, doing 5 minutes of planks a day for 30 days. Then next month, it can be a squat challenge or a running challenge or this challenge or that, whatever they want. If you're the type of person that needs your challenges broken up, then do something like that. It's your choice. You're choosing. Only you know what you need. Only you know what you want. And if you don't know how to motivate yourself to get there, only you can figure out what does. Because nobody's going to sit there and put a gun to your head and keep you on track. You got to do it. That's why I like the internal stuff. So my thing to you is I would highly recommend getting your own notebook like this and writing out your goals. Write out all the things you want, write out why you want it, and then writing up a little habit tracker, put those things on there and keep track of it throughout the month, right? And then at the end of the month, look back and go, okay, did great for this part, sucked for this, did great again. What made me suck? What knocked me off? Was it just simple life circumstances? You break an ankle, I don't expect you to go run. There are legitimate reasons why you can't do it. Like I injured my knee last year, like, what was it, April, May time frame? I tore my meniscus. So that took out any ideal of running or doing a lot of things. Things suck. But thankfully, it wasn't like a shoulder or an elbow or wrist injury, which would have stopped me from doing my push-ups. Because then I would have had to push my push-up challenge to this year. Because that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to do 52 weeks of 1,000 push-ups a week. So I probably would not have pushed it all the way to this year. I probably would have waited until I got recovered and then started from then till next year, but whatever. So understand you'll have setbacks, but you got to figure out what's going to keep you going through the times where you just don't feel motivated, that you don't want to do it, really don't want to do it. Like I really did not want to run, but there are weeks where I hit easily over 100 freaking miles in a week. I know people that haven't done that in 10 years total. I know people that in their life they probably never run 100 miles total. So we both have something in common. We both don't like running. But the difference was I forced myself to do it to help develop my discipline to be able to do things that I don't want to do. Because if you can motivate yourself to do stuff you don't want to do, the stuff you really want to do just becomes that much easier. And most of the time, to get what you want, you're going to have to do things you don't want. To get that paycheck from that job, you're going to have to pay taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes, especially as high as they are. But if you want the paycheck, unfortunately, they're going to take out the taxes too. So you just got to bite the bullet on that one. So take note, write down things. This first week, I usually tell people just let it be an experimental week. Sit, think about, contemplate, spend 10 minutes in the evening every night figuring out what you want to achieve by December 31st next year, or this year, I should say. And write it down, figure out why you want to do it, and go for it. It may just be one thing. You may just have one thing you want to do. You may not have 10, you may not have 5, you just may have one thing. Write it down, write out why you want to do it. Make sure it's a good reason. If it doesn't seem like it's a good reason, like there's not really an emotional attachment to it, there's not emotional depth to it, then figure out why. Maybe it's not something you really want, or it's maybe not something you can really describe. And if it's not something you can really describe, put that down. I can't really describe why I want to do this. I just know it's something I want to do. And so be it. Leave it at that. Don't have to make it any more complicated. But it needs to be something you really want. Otherwise, it's not going to be something you're going to stick with throughout the year. And you don't need to do a whole year plan. I do that. That's my example. I've worked up to that. You may need to break it up into week-long sections or month-long sections. So be it. Maybe for your weight loss goal, you want to be down 30 pounds by the end of the year. That's not that much, but it's still going to take consistent effort. You got to start getting your eating under control. You got to get your activity level up. Intermittent fasting is one of the new fads. It used to be a thing when I was a teenager, then it went away, and now it's starting to come back. So things have their cycles. I'd recommend that because it seems pretty successful and actually takes less effort to do that than to cook 3 meals a day or 5 meals a day. You're just doing 1, maybe 2 a day, and get your eating under control. Maybe the first month you start out by walking for an hour a day. Then after that, you change it to light aerobics for an hour a day for another month. Then the next month, medium intensity aerobics. And then the next month, high intensity aerobics. Whatever you got to do. Not everybody can jump into the deep end. Some people need the baby steps. And just by simply walking an hour a day, you are developing a habit of getting up and doing something other than watching the TV mindlessly, just flipping through the channels, and stuffing your face with chips or popcorn or whatever. You're taking control of your lifestyle. So most people don't think walking is very much or enough, but it actually is, because you are developing the habit of taking control of your life. It's your first baby step, and once you get that habit to where you're doing an hour a day of something positive for your life, it becomes easier to increase that intensity instead of trying to jump into the deep end at high intensity straight off the bat. And when you realize it, an hour a day is just 4% of the day. It's not that much, but it can have a profound effect over the course of a year. If you do an hour a day, that's 365 hours you spent that year doing something physically positive for your life, compared to this last year where you didn't do that. So that's huge, but it builds up. That's only because it builds up. It's that Kaizen principle. A little bit every single day adds up to a lot in the course of a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, however long you want to do what you want to do. Like my 30 minutes of schoolwork a day may not seem like much, because some people are like, well, I've done 4 hours at a time. But you know what? By doing 30 minutes, most of the time, the first week or two in classes, college classes, you're not really doing that much. So in that whole week, by doing 30 minutes a day, I'm way ahead of the curve. Come midterms, I'm still ahead of the curve. Come finals, I'm usually right on course just by doing 30 minutes a day. Nothing more than 30 minutes a day. Whereas most people, they wait until 2-3 weeks in, and then they start doing an hour here or there, and then come midterms, they realize, oh crap, I need to do a lot more studying. So then they're doing 2 or 3 hours a day until finals, and then they're stressing out over finals. Whereas with me, it's a different mindset. I'm not, because I'm starting with little bits of time each and every single day and keep pressing forward, pressing forward, pressing forward. So a little bit ends up being a lot. And so don't worry about how much you're going to spend on whatever goal you want to do. Just do something. You know, if you want to get a better tennis serve, right? If all you do is you hit 10 tennis balls a day, that's 3,600 in a year. May not seem like much when you're just counting it by 10. Oh, that's just 10 reps. That's just 10 reps. That's just 10 reps. But look at the course of the year. You're going to be a million times better at the end of the year, mainly because you're consistent. And studies have proven that the more consistent you are with something that you're trying to learn, the faster you're going to learn it. So by doing 10 a day, that consistency will give you the same as doing, 30 or 40 every other day, or every sporadically every like 3 or 4 days. Just how it works out. Our brains like that patterns. Our brain loves patterns. That's why there's certain music that you just key into, because it has that same pattern as your mind. And so whenever you can get something on a pattern, a consistent pattern, you just learn faster. Even with just 10 reps a day of that tennis serve, you'll be a million times better at the end of the year than if you're only doing it like twice a week. Even if you're doing 100 each time, you may end up doing more serves in a year, but just because it's consistent, the less serves in a year actually do you better, as far as learning that skill. So just get consistency. Bam, bam, bam. That's why when I'm doing my 21-day break a habit thing, if I miss 2 days, I redline it, right fail, and I start over. It's that consistency that's going to make it a success or not. And that's what you want. That's what you need to go for. Don't settle for second rate with yourself. This is your life. These are the steps you need to change it. So you have to do it. You have to hold yourself accountable and try to make sure every single part is green. Once you get 21 days straight, you have the beginning of something positive. You need another 21 days to really make it positive. So do that. Anyways, I've rambled on a lot longer than I thought I was going to. Again, sorry for the somewhat grainy picture. This hasn't really been focusing right. The camera hasn't been focusing right. You'll see a few times where I zoom in and out throughout this video. It does what it does. I don't know how to fix it. I tried to fix it. Actually erased the program and downloaded it again, and still doing it. So maybe tech support, when they respond to me, will have a better answer. But other than that, I'm going to wish you a happy New Year's. Hopefully you can make it a better one than last year. Always growing on what you built from last year. And I'll see you again at the end of this year, probably with another video, probably along the same lines, because it happens. People ignore the older videos, so we'll see. And at the end of this year, I'll let you guys in on all the things that I had in my goal setting thing, and I can show you. I think next year, before I throw out a lot of things, I'll show you like what I have green and what I have red, to let you see exactly what I mean by it's easy to tell at a glance that you're successful and your goals are not. And hopefully you take me up on some of this, and hopefully you succeed. Until then, stay safe and make this year a great one.